armored train carrying North Korea's Kim Jong-un crosses into Russia ahead of a Putin meeting. CNN. Kim Jong-un's heavily armored private train has crossed into Russia ahead of the unexpected and closely watching the summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin, state media reported Tuesday, amid warnings from the United States that the two leaders could strike an armed deal. The train was traveling north through Primorsky Krai in the far east region of the country, Russian state news agency RIA reported Tuesday. South Korea's defense ministry said it believed the North Korean leader entered Russia only Tuesday morning local time. The North Korean leader briefly left his train to meet the local officials at the Russian border station of Karshan before resuming his travels, Reuters reported, citing a source of knowledge of the matter. CNN cannot independently confirm that Kim left the train. It has since crossed railway bridge over the Lachdornaya River in the Primorsky territory and is moving north, according to RIA. A 1-to-1 between Kim and Putin expected to take place in Russia's Far East would be a significant development. Analysts say bringing together two leaders who are increasingly isolated on the world stage. Russia desperately requires the fresh supplies of ammunition and shells after more than 18 months of war in Ukraine has left each military battered, while North Korea, which has faced years of international sanctions over its nuclear weapons program, is short of everything from hard cash and food to missile technology. The meeting could lead to Pyongyang getting its hands on the sort of the weapons two decades worth of United Nations sanctions have barred it from accessing, especially for its nuclear-capable ballistic missile program. The U.S. government said last week that arms negotiations between Russia and North Korea are actively advancing and further talks could take place as part of Russia's effort to find new suppliers for weapons to use in its war against Ukraine. South Korean Defense Ministry spokesperson Chun Ha-kyu also said Tuesday the ministry is closely monitoring whether North Korea is Russia will proceed with the negotiations on the arms deal and technology transfer. Kim Jong-un departed the North Korean capital Pyongyang by private train in this image provided by North Korean state media on September 10. The North Korean leader departed the capital, Pyongyang, on Sunday afternoon accompanied by the top party officials and members of the government and armed forces, North Korean news agency KCNA reported Tuesday. North Korea's top officials, including military leaders and chief diplomat, are among Kim's delegation, according to photos shared by North Korean state media KCNA. In one photo released by KCNA, Kim's second in command of the military, Lee Pyong-chul, was seen on board the train. Lee is target of US and UN sanctions for his role in leading the country's ballistic missile programs as the former head of the Department of the Munitions Industry. Previous images released by KCNA showed Kim walking down the red carpet at the Pyongyang station and boarding the green train. Crowd of onlookers could be seen cheering in the background and waving flags. Neither country has specified when or where the visit will take place. At this point, we are not saying in the Far East, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov told the reporters according to Russian state media TASS, later adding a meeting between the two leaders would happen in the next few days. Peskov said bilateral relations between the nations will be priority of the meeting, which will be a full-blown visit with talks between the two delegations. The talks will also touch on sensitive areas, Peskov added, while a formal dinner is also planned in honor of Kim's arrival. Russia's Far East region is a massive swath of the territories that shares land borders with China, North Korea, and Mongolia. According to South Korea's news agency Yonhap, the train believed to be carrying Kim appears to be moving toward a more northerly destination than the eastern port of the Vladivostok toward the Khabarovsk province bordering China, instead citing multiple local sources in Vladivostok. Putin was in Vladivostok Tuesday for the Eastern Economic Forum, where he gave an address touting Russia's trade opportunities with countries in Asia Pacific. Russia's trade with other countries in the region added 18.3% in only 6 months of this year, he said. Trade with countries of the Asia Pacific region will be developing even further. Putin also met with China's Vice Premier Jong Quinn on the sidelines of the forum and said relations between the two countries had reached the unprecedented historical level, according to Russian state media agencies. The North Korean leader at the Pyongyang station before departing on his private train in this image provided by North Korean state media on September 10th. Kim Jong-un foreign trips, a timeline. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has only done 9 foreign trips since assuming power in 2011. He usually follows his family tradition and travels abroad by train. 2018 March, China. Kim travels by train on his first foreign trip as the leader of North Korea to meet with President Xi Jinping in Beijing. April, South Korea. Kim travels by car to the Korean demilitarized zone called DMZ and become the first North Korean leader to cross into South Korean territory since 1953. He met South Korean President Moon Jae-in. May, China. Kim is believed to have flown to Dalian in his personnel jet to meet with President Xi Jinping for the second time. June, Singapore. Kim flies on an Air China plane to meet US President Donald Trump in the first historic summit. June, China. On 1 week later, Kim takes his personal plane back to Beijing to meet with President Xi Jinping. 2019, January, China. Kim makes his first visit to China, arriving in Beijing by train at the invitation of President Xi Jinping. February, March, Vietnam. After a 60-hour train ride to Dongdang, followed by the car ride to Hanoi, Kim met for the second time with President Donald Trump. April, Russia. Kim arrives by train to Russia to meet President Vladimir Putin for the first time in Vladivostok. June, South Korea. Kim meets with President Donald Trump and President Moon Jae-in in the DMZ, where Trump crosses over the border line to become the first US president to step in North Korea. A rare trip for Kim. Kim's arrival in Russia marks the rare foreign trip for the leader of one of the world's most isolated nations, and his first visit abroad since the COVID-19 pandemic, during which North Korea's borders were sealed. Since assuming power in 2011, Kim has only ventured abroad 10 times, all in 2018 and 2019, and came as the North Korean leader engaged in the series of talks over the country's nuclear weapons and missile programs. Kim last visited Russia in April 2019 on a trip to Vladivostok, where he met Putin for the first time amid an ongoing and unresolved crisis over North Korea's nuclear program and failed dialogue between Pyongyang and Washington. Kim Jong-un walks down a red carpet to the crowd of onlookers and officials before boarding his private train. As in 2019, North Korea leader traveled to Russia Tuesday in his famed, characteristically green train that has by now become a symbol of the helmet nation's isolation and secrecy. Like his grandfather Kim Il sung and his father Kim Jong il, it is said Kim prefers to traveling in the upscale armored train, which has long been the subject of infringing Washington's warning. The warning from Washington about what could be offered during a possible Kim-Putin meeting came after Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu visited Pyongyang in July in an attempt to convince it to sell artillery ammunition to Moscow. Last Tuesday, White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan warned North Korea will pay a price if it strikes an arms deal with Russia, though he did not elaborate on the potential repercussions. On Monday, the White House North Korea urged North Korea to not provide or sell arms to Russia. As we have warned publicly, arms discussions between Russia and DPRK are expected to continue during Kim Jong Un's trip to Russia, said the National Security Council spokesperson Adrienne Watson. North Korea is already under United Nations and US sanctions imposed over Pyongyang's weapons program. Despite the UN sanction, Kim has been developing his ballistic missile program at breakneck pace for the past 2 years. In that period, he has tested dozens of missiles, including intercontinental ballistic ones called ICBMs, that in theory could deliver a nuclear warhead over the US mainland. Onlookers cheer and wave as Kim Jong-un departs the North Korean capital Pyongyang. But doubts remain over the extent of the country's capabilities, so working to get his hands on technology from Russia, a world leader in nuclear missile forces for decades. It would be a boost for his project, a great concern for leaders in the West, analysts said. Speaking to CNN ahead of the meeting, Leif Erik Isley, professor of international studies at Ewha Women's University in Seoul, said a one-to-one between Kim and Putin would be a very significant development. Russia has the military technology that Kim wants for his illegal satellite launch and nuclear weapons delivery programs, Isley said. Moscow, in turn, badly needs ammunition and small arms areas where analysts say North Korea has strong production capabilities on the front lines in Ukraine. North Korea makes good what I call the heavily industrial weapons, said Carl Schuster, a former director of operations at the U.S. Pacific Command's Joint Intelligence Center. Each artillery and ammunition is very good and it's very similar to Russian designs. However, other analysts have said that North Korean ammunition would not be a game changer for Russia and Ukraine. These arms could help replenish depleted stocks and prolong the conflict, but are not going to change its direction, said Giuseppe Dempsey, research associate for defense and military analyst at the International Institute for Strategic Studies. After reports emerged of North Korea's arms sales to Russia in September 2022, the North Korean Defense Ministry official said at the time that Pyongyang had never exported weapons or ammunition to Russia before and we will not plan to export them. CNN's tele-revine Alet Sanz, Yoon Jong-seo, Anna Chernova, Mihir Melwani, and Michelle McCloskey contributed to this reporting.